I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening. And I don't have my computer on yet.
Tax classification.
Tax classification hearing?
Yeah.
One second while my computer comes on, but I believe we have a tax classification hearing.
Yes.
Here we are. We do.
Okay. Again, as we do every year, the board recommends a single rate of tax.
Yeah, that's not a surprise, is it?
No, and actually, I will read what Janine wrote because she actually gave more information. Shifting the tax burden does not increase revenue. It merely shifts the same burden to other taxpayers. In Southampton, 94% of the tax burden is borne by residential property owners and 6% is carried by all other classes. Using the maximum allowable residential shift, 3% would be able to be shifted to other classes. If we did that, the average residential property of $250,000 would save about $100 a year, while the commercial property owner would pay an extra $1,800. That's why we choose to stay with the single tax rate.
Does anybody have any questions? Then someone want to make a motion about whether
Make a motion to accept the recommendation from the assessors. Having a single tax rate.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. My computer's still loading, so I don't know what's next.
Kathy Lynch, ECAT.
ECAT, yeah. Postponed.
Postponed to
Okay.
December 3rd.
Policy and procedures.
Postponed.
Fire department.
Mike.
Safety complex.
No, it's coming. It's just loading. It's taking forever.
We'll do warrants.
Warrants, signatures.
Oh, you want open time?
Open time for the public, anybody? Donna, you here for any particular?
I just need signatures on
How much?
the septic, another round of septic betterment money. That's
It's the Community
Yeah.
Innovation Challenge.
Now, are they using it more and more now versus when Josh was here, we weren't using it?
Well, this money has been available since '07 it was voted on, but then the rest of the process was never done, and the note was never signed, and the money was never requested. So I didn't even know it was sitting there until they contacted me and said, do you guys want this money or not?
Yeah,
Yeah, we pay it back, but we can offer it to the residents.
It's like, what, 1% or something like that? It's not a lot.
I don't think we pay any interest on it. And whatever we charge in interest,
This is what you're talking about?
yes, there's 4 of each of our certificate that all the select board need to sign. Then there's a clerk's, there's a vote that just the clerk of the board needs to sign. And then the actual note is the green paper, and you all need to sign that. But there's a vote.
So this is for $200,000. This is the money that we give out for
Yes.
home. Is it the home improvements?
It's septic.
Mass
septic.
water.
The water pollution. The WPAC or whatever.
Yeah, water pollution abatement.
Water Pollution Abatement Trust.
WIPATs or whatever they are. All right. We vote these usually. We've had this certainly in the past and used it.
What it is citizens that don't want to go to the conventional bank to borrow money, they can come here, and the town basically acts as a bank and give them very low rates. And over a 20-year period, payback period?
Right.
Yeah. And the town, in return, can charge a administrative fee and an interest fee, right?
Right. I don't think they charge an administrative fee. I think they just charge the interest, and the Board of Health is the one that determines what the rate is.
Okay.
Either 2 or 5%.
And we've done this about 6 or 7 times that I can recall.
Yeah, we've already loaned out like $400,000. So this is the third round of $200,000.
All right. This has some rather peculiar requirements. Was filed that a notice of stating the place and time of the agenda for the meeting, adoption of the above votes. There's a number of things. How is this listed?
It's under signatures. Is that what you're looking?
Yeah, how's it, it's,
It's on, are you looking on your agenda, or are you looking
I'm
on
looking on the agenda.
page 16, 15?
But it's got to be on the agenda.
No, it is.
Yeah, but it's got all these different issues have to be on the agenda.
Water, Mass
I'm
Water
reading-
Pollution Abatement Trust Community Septic Management Program law?
Yeah, but I further certify that the votes were taken at a meeting open to the public, that no vote was taken by secret ballot, that a notice stating the place, date, and time, and agenda for the meeting, which included the adoption of the above votes, was filed with the town clerk, and a copy thereof posted in a manner conspicuously visible to the public at all hours in or on the municipal building that the office of town clerk is located, if applicable in accordance with an alternative method of notice prescribed or approved by the Attorney General as set forth.
So what you're saying is we have to approve it here in an open meeting. It's got to be posted for a while.
It's got
And
it, but
approve it.
it's got it. I think these individual motions have to be posted that you're going to take an action on. One is the town will issue a bond, that each bond shall be issued single, that the treasurer is authorized.
Back up again. But didn't we, this was done and approved before, we never signed it. Am I right? Is that what you
It's
said?
already gone to town meeting. This already went to town meeting back in '07. And there was a problem with the wording of the vote that was originally taken, so then it was re-voted at another town meeting. So I found the meetings, and the minutes to the meetings, the articles, and I sent them to bond council.
This is talking about the vote of the selectmen.
Okay, I'm just
This
saying
meeting.
that.
This meeting. Unless I'm reading that wrong. It sounds like all these individual motions have to be posted as an agenda item.
I think you're right.
Would you like me to put it on 26th, and I can send
Is
this
there a
as
time
part?
frame on this?
It's been 07.
Yeah.
So I guess we've missed the time frame no matter what we do.
Yeah.
My suggestion is, what Reggie says, post it for,
I'll post the whole entire thing.
Yeah.
but I think there's another meeting that we have to come back and ratify that. Am I right?
No, I further certify the votes taken at a meeting open to the public. No, I think it's just...
That's just your signature.
It's just the signature, it's just it sounds like all these individual motions have to be on the agenda and be considered. And,
Prior to signing it.
yeah,
Okay. Well,
and that a notice stating the place, date, time, and agenda for the meeting, which agenda include the adoption of the above votes. I've never seen that language, but it's not just vote, discuss and vote, it's...
But if this was done at a special town meeting or annual town meeting, this would have been posted. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
To a 7. And we need to verify that. And if it was done, we just sign at the next meeting.
But does it have all that language?
I don't know. She said there was 2 of them. One that had to be, the second one had to correct the
That
first.
was the town, because the town, it had to pass a town meeting vote. Like the residents had to
Approve this, and this is
Yeah,
the
so-
note.
But is that the select board vote?
Yeah, that's the
Like-
select board vote.
So post it. We got nothing else.
So that's all of these documents that are in this envelope, right?
Yeah.
You got it? It's... Okay. Sorry
There's
about
only the things that were paper clipped.
Yes. There's another Community Innovation Challenge.
Those
Oh,
are
that's a
other-
CIC thing again?
Yeah, those
Oh,
are
it's coming back again. Okay.
All right, so you're going to have anything for next week?
Yep.
Yeah, well, you got it, there's a paragraph there.
I'm going to
It's like-
post the whole, I'll take care of it.
Yeah, post the whole,
The whole sheet.
all the sheets.
Okay.
And then we can't go wrong. Next on, we have a Community Innovation Challenge grant. Pioneer Valley Planning Commission.
That has to do with the sealers and weights, or weights and sealers, with the Northampton. This was discussed at the November 6th meeting briefly, where John Frey is asking, or excuse me, not John Frey, yes, he is, asking if the town of Southampton would participate in the Community Innovation Grant and going regionalization with...
The weight sealer or
Yeah.
weights and measures.
Yeah.
Right now, Northampton provides us the service to us.
That's what
On a fee or a contractual basis?
No, I think
We don't
the
pay-
fees are to the individual stations that need weights and measures.
So this
But
would be a change?
They haven't gone up in 10 or 12 years in their rates, and they find Northampton is augmenting and paying the system, and they either want to adjust it or are involved in the program.
So do we wish to join the regionalization of sealers of weights and measures?
Yes. I mean, I think that's a good idea.
I would think so, because if we don't, Northampton looks like they're going to give it up. They aren't going to take the communities to do it. So somebody want to make a motion on that?
Make a motion to get involved with the Hampshire COG contract for weights and measures regional agreement.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Reggie, which?
There are two. The first one is for the Pioneer Valley. The second one is the grant that I was applying for the updating of the website.
Okay. So that's a separate issue?
Separate issue.
So that's this one here.
Is this the one I was talking to you like about?
No, I think this is another part of it. The school's doing one and you put in something on your own, right?
I sent it to the school, however, I didn't hear back from anybody, so I'm just going to follow through. I even talked with John Fitz, and
Reggie, will you fill in the rest of that entity? And so this is an application support. Is there another part to this? It doesn't say anything.
no, not yet.
All right. So we don't have. Is this just for information,
Just
or?
a signatory page.
But we don't have the grants yet, right?
No, not yet.
Who's this?
This is going to be our town administrator applying for a grant to update the website.
Is it through Pioneer Valley Planning?
No, it's to apply for the Community Innovation Grant.
Innovation Challenge Grant, but I think we need them. I think we'd need the grant to know what we're signing.
But you put that in with the stuff that went to the high school and you haven't heard back from them? So should we check and make sure that we're not submitting twice for the
Well, I
same
got
thing?
a call from Craig Jurgensen Friday. He put an item in there for $80,000 for a generator for the North School, and they followed back and called me because I did some work on that prior to that for another application. And the $80,000, my question to them, are you going to do the whole school, or are you doing a small part of the school? Because that grant, $80,000 grant for that generator, is not going to do the whole school. It's going to do it very small. And the other thing too is, you need to put something in for the installation of that, because the power room is right off your room, it's in the middle, so there's a lot of wiring and switching has to be done. And if it's going to be automatically turned on, then certain other areas are going to be turned off in the same procession, so it doesn't, shut the whole thing down.
Right.
So they were going to get back to me with those answers. If they're going to do the whole building, they don't have enough money. If they're going to just apply for the grant and not the installation is going to be close to $75,000 to $80,000. And those are numbers that we had from electricians.
So that makes me wonder if there's not enough, with what I was including, I wonder if there's not enough for the website, because if that takes up a chunk, and then what they wanted to do.
So I just wondering if maybe we need to touch base before we submit.
But, what I think this grant is, you put all these things out there, and they can tell you,
Right.
they're not going to say, well, you prioritize it, and we'll base it on that.
Right.
They're going to look at them and say, well, this is more valuable than this, and, this is really a town thing, they should be doing, not us. But, nothing wrong with asking.
All right, so we're going to put that aside until we have the grant. We have the Southampton Greenway Project Need Form. This is directed to the District Highway Director. The Town of Southampton is pleased to submit the enclosed project need form for consideration at the next Project Review Committee meeting. The town seeks to extend the widely popular Manhan Trail into Southampton to continue the backbone of the Bay State Greenway. Proposed 3.5 mile, I was assuming that's supposed to say 3.5 mile Southampton Greenway will provide greater access to existing Greenway network while closing a gap between the Greenway network in Southwick and Westfield to the south and Easthampton, Northampton to the north. The proposed project incorporates segments 1, 2, and 3 on enclosed locus. On the enclosed, if you have any questions, contact Charlie McDonald or Mike Bueller. I assume they're asking for us to sign this? Anybody want to make
Make
a
a
motion?
motion to send a letter to Al Stedman, Mass DOT District 2, to put this on the tip.
Is there a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
And then we have, this is what you know about that electricity thing.
Could, when you send that letter, because the tip is not controlled by the state, it's controlled by Pioneer Valley Planning, send them a copy of the letter.
Okay.
Okay, to Tim Brennan.
Right on the front of that green slip is a copy to PVPC. The electricity thing.
What's this one? I think it was 2 weeks ago I was here, I wasn't here last week, but I took this package and I was talking to Kenneth Elstein from the Hampshire COG in regards to this agreement. This agreement is an agreement that we already approved back in, I don't know, a year or two ago, and since then they've gone to the Utility Commission and there's a couple of changes in what the original proposal was. Let me see if I can find the proposal changes. First one, in a technical change made at the request of the Department of Public Utility, the program is changed from a single Hampshire Council coordinated irrigation with 38 towns and cities to 38 separate individual contracts. Second one, that we will expect it to be a rare occasion, towns will be able to reject a specific successful electrical bid that does not that has not been approved by a consensus of all communities. Those are two language changes they put in there. There's a third one there, but I don't believe it affects us. In the event the Hampshire Council, as a licensed electrical supplier, is able to offer a better price than all for-profit bidders, then the price can be accepted with important restrictions. Specifically, the council would not receive its share of the .002 fee our town's meeting question and answer handout referred to. And those are the three changes from what we signed before, and they're asking for us to sign this agreement and move it forward. And this would benefit the businesses and individual homeowners in Southampton to have more of a competitive rate.
We've done this before.
We approved it before, I think it was back in
2011.
2011, when Jeff Rogers was here explaining this to us.
Anybody have any comments?
I do, Ed. I was looking this over. Number one, in the technical change, we made the request of the Massachusetts Department of Public Utilities. The program is changed from a single Hampshire Council coordinated aggregation from 38 towns and cities to 38 separate aggregations. What is the significance
What
of
it
that?
means
Why?
is that if we choose not to go along with the rest of the group,
Right.
we can exert our powers and go against what is approved. In other words, they're not saying the general consensus rules for everybody. They're saying that if you do not agree to it as an individual town, and 37 other towns do, and you don't, you have the right not to be part of it. That's what that means.
Okay.
But that was put in by the Utility Commission to protect individual towns.
Right, the Massachusetts Department of Public Utilities. So do we get reports annually, weekly, monthly, I mean, so that we know what we don't agree with? I mean, do you ever look them over? If anything that we wanted to...
Well, I looked over this agreement, it's pretty much boilerplate, you know, standard. When these rates and this coalition gets out there and starts accepting bids, okay, then you'll see activity, you know. Am I versed in all these individual terms? No, I'm not. I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a utility lawyer specifically, and I think it's important to note that, but we are part of the COG, and they have the lawyers that represent us, and I'm assuming they did their homework, but if there's questions, Jackie, feel free to, call this Kenneth Elstein, or even Greg Rogers, or Mr. Todd that was here.
Right, I already spoke to him, because I
Okay.
had a question about it. But I'm just wondering, like, who in our town monitors the rate changes with the utilities, and if we can, file some kind of complaint if we feel that it goes up substantially without any reason.
Case in point, we buy power from, the town buys power, like the water department, town hall, all municipals, they buy power. In the course of the year, it has been advantageous, but in certain months, they give us a comparison of what Western Mass would be charging versus what the co-op is charging. And some months, like in the summer, it depends on where they buy their fuel to augment this, we might be paying more for those months. But over the last 2 or 3 years we've had this, like the water department, I think we saved about $7,000 or $8,000 compared to other rates. But there were some months that we paid $1,000 more. But you got to look at the 12-month period, because there's highs and lows and it flows. And you're going to have to trust, the COG to, you have questions, the citizens have kept questions. One of my concerns were, I don't want to be fielding 3,000 individual homeowners' questions here, and I don't think we want to. One question I would have for them, would they be in a position to have somebody to field these questions that's on their staff
Right.
versus us? Because we're just going to have to run to them and ask them, what's going on. But, I don't know. I don't know if they plan on doing that or what. All I know is that we approved this 2 years ago, and there's been some changes by the Utility Commission and certain changes to protect individual towns in the verbiage that was given to us 2 years ago versus what they want us to agree to now. And that's what I got out of it. There are other companies, Jackie. I think Dominion is another company that works independent. I think a lot of homeowners got, requests in their mailbox to use Dominion, my best thing to solve this whole problem, I wish Oil, Gas, and Electric took over the whole town.
Yeah.
Okay? Because their rates are about 25% cheaper than Western Mass.
And their power doesn't go out as much.
I know. They don't make a profit.
Yeah.
But that's what we got out of it. And I know part of the town does have Oil, Gas, and Electric, and it's been very beneficial to them, but the majority of the town does not. And it's territorial control by the utilities, who has what.
Okay, thank you.
Okay?
Here's actually the old contract. I found it.
Okay, that's the only.
All right, so
I don't know what the pleasure of the board, what you want to do. You want to think about this some more? You want to ask some more questions? I don't think we're in a rush, are we?
No, I don't think so.
I don't know how to ask questions on that, so.
Well, I would like to just look into it a little bit longer. If it's not something we have to sign tonight,
Then
Reggie,
you
could
got-
you?
Put it on the 26th?
Because I'd like to know who does watch over it and what we can do.
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
Good question. Why don't you give this out to Jack?
That's all? Oh, that's
That whole thing.
that whole thing?
That's the stuff that I've been doing.
Wow. There's your homework, Jackie.
There you go. That's all right. I love to read.
The assessors left, and I didn't realize there's a form for us to sign on that tax
You
classification.
have to get a witness?
No, the town clerk has to certify that it was posted, but we need to sign that.
Okay.
We voted it, we just need to sign it.
Okay.
I'm ready.
Right, can we print it?
Yeah, that's good to know.
Better job than me.
Jack,
Oh, thank you.
it's a tax classification.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Then we got Tishman, they want, is that for us? You know, is that
For the building committee, or...
This is in the balance of what we've already approved.
I don't think so.
Because I have another memo here, but the missionary, and I don't think it's the same.
That's in there as well.
And I got a copy.
Okay.
It's divided.
Yeah, the next,
Yeah, this is the new one. But this is, remember last time we talked?
you got the flashing.
They want almost $6,000 to put a guy up there to watch the masonry.
To do $18,000 worth of work.
To do, I think it's going to be around 6,000 or 7,000. But they offered it to me that if I could inspect it, and it would save that money. So
Why are we gonna-
I already told them, and I think we talked about that.
Yeah.
What's the pleasure of the board?
I just,
And I would have them come out one day when it's done to look at it.
why should we pay $6,000 to
I don't,
inspect
I mean, I agree
$6,000 worth of
with
work?
putting it up there.
That makes no sense at all. So I'd be comfortable with Ed supervising or inspecting the work and having one final inspection by,
With Tushman for $125 an hour.
somebody want to make a motion to that effect? If you're inclined?
I make a motion to,
Well, you don't have to
yeah, I can make a motion. I make a motion to have the highway department do the
Yeah.
inspection of the missionary work at the Norris School on the flashing of the edging into the masonry work. And rather than having Tushman come out and put an inspector on to watch them, that the highway department will inspect it, and then Tushman will come out the final day and to approve our inspections.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Which nullifies the need for this next one, then.
Right.
So we don't need
And I'll
to.
send that to them.
What time is it?
What you do with that bill? You have to sign it.
Oh, this bill?
Yeah, you and I have to sign it.
You guys got 5 more minutes to wait. We got 5 more minutes for the public safety.
You got 5 more minutes, Bill. Calm it down.
5 more minutes, Bill.
We have payroll warrants.
Okay, I can wait.
I have a payroll warrant PD 14-21 in the amount of $43,469.87. All consigned.
All consigned. Make a motion to approve.
All in favor?
Aye.
Document already?
It looks like a doctor's signature.
Thank you.
Okay.
Doctor signature.
Nice.
There should be 2 in that folder. The one that Jackie has, I think.
Oh, there's 2 in there?
Oh, sign two.
Oh, all right, so somebody read that other one off. That's why I'm
There's
looking.
a payroll warrant 14-21 in the amount of $76,843.15. All consigned.
Is there a second? Is there a motion?
Make a motion to that effect.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. Then there's, now I gotta go back. Then there's P 14-21-3 for $716. Is there a motion to sign?
Make a motion to sign.
Is there a second?
Second.
Jackie can't second.
Okay. Abstain.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Liz, you voting?
Aye.
And then we have P 14-21-2 in the amount of $21,788.07. Ed can't sign.
Thank you.
Make a motion.
Jackie, you can't say anything.
Make a motion to sign P 14-21 in the amount of $21,788.07.
Is there a second?
Second. Like a
You
second.
can second. You can't second that one.
Need another second.
Jackie, I need a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
21 too? No, that's the 21 too, right? Yeah.
Anybody know if this school tomorrow morning has my wife on it?
I didn't look through it.
You didn't look through it?
No.
21 too.
Why don't you do this one and we'll just, I'll abstain on that one.
Mike, I have a question. After we just said yes to all this, I just wonder what we
This
do
is for
about
the
that
elementary
note
school.
on top.
I make a motion
The note on top, she's wondering what she's
for
doing.
warrant P 1421-1 for the North School for $149,116.54. For a second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Abstain. Oh, wait a minute.
You can
Yeah, she
abstain.
abstained.
Oh, she abstained, and I abstained, so you got
You got three.
three.
Yeah, did Jackie.
Can I sign this one?
Thank you.
Mike, did you say you abstained?
Yes, I understand, because I didn't look at it to see if my wife was in there.
Percentage of the North. You take the percentage of yourself.
She used to show up every once in a while. Their contribution to her. But I haven't seen these.
I can't sign that one.
Now that they break it back out by school department.
I could tell.
No.
All right, does Mike
We
need
don't
to
think we have
sign
any
this?
You can't, he
PCFs.
abstains too.
Oh, is it?
PRFs,
Is it the,
one-day permits.
Nothing.
you never know that was there.
Appointment of Jared Crock to the Highway Screening Committee, Doug
No, we
Blanchard.
need to do that tonight.
Oh, yeah, that's what we talked about.
Let's get it all out.
So do we have his application here?
I did not include it in your packet tonight, but it's in the prior meetings packet.
Prior meetings package?
Yes, November 12th.
So if you go backwards,
All right. Let's-
you don't know what page, though.
I'll tell you.
Where are we?
We're trying to appoint Jerry to the Highway Screening Committee.
Oh, yeah.
No, it was an email. It's
Oh.
not in there.
So it's not in there?
What do you need to know about him? Do you have to have something before you appoint him?
No, I was just going to, so everybody familiar, I don't.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I saw it in a prior email.
I probably did also.
Yeah. Let's see that.
So, does anybody want to say anything about Mr. Crock?
I met him at our first meeting. He's very nice. I think he'd be a good asset to the committee.
And that'll make a total number of
Seven.
The other thing too, he did the hiring and firing for that social, for the state agency that handles social workers.
Yeah.
So does somebody want to take an action?
Make a motion to appoint Jerry Crock.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye. Thanks.
I want Doug, you want to take care of that too?
Yeah, I'm going to take care of Doug. Doug Blanchard has applied to be on the Master Plan Implementation Committee. What is that Greenway Negotiating Committee? Is that, he's applying for that too, or is it?
No, that's separate.
No, but he should be isn't there an at-large position in there?
For the master plan?
Yeah.
Yes, he is applying as an at-large.
Okay.
But I'm saying there's a Greenway Negotiating Appointment. What's that?
That's actually, that was, Ed, I believe, had asked, he's going to step down from the Greenway, and they were going to appoint somebody else for the negotiating team.
Mike Bueller.
Okay, well, let's do
Two
Doug.
separate things.
Two separate things.
Yeah.
So does anybody want to make a motion on appointing Doug Blanchard to the Master Implementation Committee? Master Plan Implementation, well, I can't even talk.
I make a motion to appoint Doug Blanchard to the Master Implementation Committee.
Is there a second?
There's second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So who wants to be on the Greenway Negotiation Committee appointment? Mike Bueller.
Yes.
But do we have a letter?
We have a letter ready? No.
That's something you did differently, where you took 2 representatives from the Greenway and then 2 select board members. That was nothing, that was not posted. And Mike is a member of the Greenway.
Anyway,
Yeah.
and he's very active in it.
Yeah.
Very interested. I would certainly be happy to have him on.
Very knowledgeable. He'll do a good job.
That being said, does anybody want to make a motion?
I make a motion to appoint Mike Bueller to the Greenway Negotiation Committee.
For a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And so that takes care of all those. Mass water pollution, we're going to repost and renotice. The HCOG contract, Jackie's going to look at. We did the project need form for the rail trail.
One last item is the 2014 Select Board meetings and office hours calendar.
In packet.
Yes.
The one concern I saw when I looked at it was that we had discussed that it was easier to meet every week than not, and that the dates for every week are not.
No, this is separate. This is for 2014. This is the, for the office hours that they can be opened every other week. You still have the option to meet every week if you wish.
Oh,
but the
this is
office
different.
hour, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
What page is that, Reg?
Maybe towards the back. It's on page 45.
I guess the part that confused me that said the select board are scheduled to meet on the following dates. That's why I thought every date should be listed. Does that make sense?
You guys are scheduled to meet on those dates, but if you choose to meet additional dates, then you would
This
post
is
those.
this would be a minimum schedule, and we will continue to keep posting every week until we.
Right.
This would be the minimum schedule, though.
This thing. Touch it, it's so sensitive.
You want to take any action based on that?
I'm fine with it.
Make a motion to adopt that as a schedule for now?
Don't we have this already posted out throughout the year?
That's for 2013.
Okay.
This is the 14th.
Well,
Okay,
I make a
so
motion
it's not
to
on-
adopt the select board schedule for 2014.
Or second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
When's the town election?
Town election is on May 5th.
May 5th. So somebody's going to get elected and come to the meeting the next night. All right, and now I gotta get back.
Did you get anything back in free cash yet?
Did I know? I saw it was an exchange today. It hasn't.
Yeah, it's not
Vicki
ready.
said it, she's waiting. She had hoped it would be today, but now some other towns are ahead of us and she expects sometime.
No, I just saw a note here that people are sending in requests for articles. And then
We have 2 articles, and those are from 2 prior year invoices, is what we have.
Coming back to the agenda.
are we sending anything out to department heads?
Well, I thought,
I have that on there as well.
what?
What's your message to share?
I don't know.
Fiscal message.
Oh, that's
I
right.
just wanted to have some discussion on it before we say,
We
let's
had,
go.
were you?
Right.
I wasn't here last week.
Oh, that's right, too, you weren't here.
So we'll have to go back to that, but
All right, so do you want to take this? And we'll come back to that, we have those discussions.
yes.
The Public Safety Building Committee, time is up. You've spent your time you're all done. You don't have time.
I'll be good.
Your time is gone.
Dave.
What would you like to tell us?
Come on, guys.
Come on, guys.
Charlie likes me.
I'm pretty comfortable.
Well, you're always comfortable, Bill. Well, first about a month ago or so, Select Board wrote a letter to one of the property owners
Yes.
to find out if there was any interest in purchasing that land.
Page 12 of our agenda items.
And at this point in time,
No response?
well, the letter would have went to you guys, so
No
No
response.
response.
which opens the question. We all really would like to see it behind the old fire station, but that's not going to happen. A lot of us aren't happy with the second option. Does the select board wish this committee to start exploring looking at private land?
How much land do we think we need, I guess, is the first question.
Well, Joe's going to start working, and I'll let him explain what's going on with the feasibility thing. But if I was to guess, I'd say we're probably looking at 3 acres or so. That's a guess.
Which is a sizable piece of property.
It is. But you got to figure you've got a lot of vehicles, parking area.
Well, I'm just thinking in the center of town and I guess I'm envisioning it along the highway.
Nothing comes to mind, and I've been on this for 3 years now, that really says this is where we should do it. Part of the problem is buying the land. If we were going to start searching for private land, then we're going to need to have an article at a town meeting to be able to offer some money for first refusal if we start to go into negotiations with a property owner. That brings up X amount of dollars that needs to be available for that. And then we get into the process of taking it by eminent domain, which takes some time to happen. So the committee is sort of asking the select board
For direction.
what's your pleasure?
Anybody?
Charlie, do they identify any sites on your first group meeting in this,
We,
other than public property?
just public property. We were told by the select board back when that started, look at public property, basically because of the cost of buying the land. And that's what we focused on. We had conversations about pieces of land that were not owned by the town, but we never went there because we weren't charged to do that. And this is sort of a redirection of the committee if you're looking for us to start doing it. And you have to appreciate that if we do find land that we think we want to move forward with, and the owner wants to sell the land, we still got a process ahead of us to do this.
Well, if I can summarize it, we looked at the old fire station, and as much as we all like it, it's not going to happen.
Not going to happen.
We looked at the landfill, and we looked at moving either the highway garage or some combination of the two. So now this is a fourth venture off into private property, other than the property that we looked at, or we wrote about in October.
Do not take this out of line, but you, as the town, have the authority to take property.
Yeah.
It would be a very bitter pill to sell to people, but you do have that authority.
Well, and then you get into the expenses of litigation, because eminent domain always ends up in litigation, and it's not just the price of the property, it's a
Right.
litigation over the property that costs.
And you probably stalled the project by 2 years.
Yeah.
I have a question. Just quick before I lose word, I'm sorry. Cumberland Farms, okay, just correct me if I'm wrong. If you're standing at Cumberland Farms, you look across the street and there's homes, but then a little farther down, there's kind of a vacant lot.
That's
What
right.
is that?
That's
That's what we're looking at.
Oh, okay, because I thought there's a place maybe.
What if we, instead of we picking out property, what if we solicited proposals from somebody for, whatever the number of acres we need within, and see if anybody comes forward with a parcel of property that they'd like to sell, rather than trying to find it on our own.
That's fine.
So we need direction, that's.
I guess, would we request proposals?
Well, that's one way of looking at it, but I'm just wondering I know it's extra time on your part and to look at it, but is there any optimum open fields right now other than the one we looked at off of 10?
Yes,
Or East Street, or maybe one of our major collectors, Pomeroy Meadow?
yes.
Okay.
There is backlands that are available that are out there that they may have enough frontage to get access roads into them. But again, we were never asked to look into
I mean, I look at it this way, Charlie, the ideal situation, we'd like to have it centrally located, but in this day and game, most of that land's already taken up. And so we're looking at alternative shots that are not necessarily in the middle of town, but can get there in a reasonable amount of time. I mean, I know a couple parcels that are private parcels, but they're on the fringes of town, and I don't think we want to put them on the borders. You know.
Even the landfill, I mean, what was really enticing about that area is we owned it. So, and we know the soils, you and me know the land there, it's workable. Plus it's got town water running by it, so it's sort of like...
Gas.
Did the gas line you?
Gas is just up the street.
Okay.
It's not
So, you know, from a construction point of view, that's workable. I even talked to DEP about it, just to see if they had an issue with the landfill. They didn't seem to have any issue with the landfill.
So that's still a viable option.
Oh, yeah, it's there.
So the question is the pleasure of the board to go off on private property, or do we stick, or do we just fall back and use the landfill? Or what do we please?
Is the only trouble with the landfill that bridge for heavy equipment? Is that a major concern?
It's not going to accommodate 2 trucks.
So that would have to be
Truck and a car,
replaced. But would we save enough money by using that land to replace the bridge? Do you know what I mean? Instead of having to buy land, would we save enough by using our own land?
You can probably talk, when it's done and over with, from conception to permitting, close to $1 million,
To do just
to do that bridge over.
the bridge?
But does the bridge have sufficient weight capacity?
Yeah.
So I mean,
60 loading.
couldn't we simply do one of 2 things? One, it's not a bad stretch of road where you could...
It's not like there's 10,000 cars a day, except for Saturday.
Right. And they'd be done.
There is an issue that, you know, a fire truck can go over as long as nobody's trying to beat them to the punch.
Well, we could also make that road one way, couldn't we? And that would eliminate the problem?
What if the fire department wants to come the other way?
Yes, can't that do that?
Can't put the traffic signal in there. Especially if there's an emergency with the fire department.
Question, Charlie.
Control traffic.
Are the Goros selling that farm on the corner there? Is that
I don't know,
Is that-
but
is
I
that a
haven't
site?
been walking around asking anybody if they have any.
I'm just wondering if you know anything.
I don't know anything. The last
Because
time...
even that location off at 10, well, it'll be kind of dangerous coming down that hill, but with the kind of trucks coming out of there.
You're still going to have the trucks coming out of there?
But they could come off of White Brook, or Moose Brook.
Yeah.
It's just an option, because it's on 10.
There is another parcel that I would like the committee to explore, and even if Wayne Estate doesn't respond, or if they do respond, we should have a backup parcel. And what I think what Charlie's asking for is to go ahead to look at other parcels and to see private parcels and go from there.
I'm fine with that.
I don't have a problem with looking at other parcels. Just we got to start making up our mind one way or the other.
I got a question for Bill. Bill, years ago, you did a practice barn on 10, that house. I think you were involved with that.
Which one, Collegiate?
The one further down, is it part of Wayne's property, or is that a separate piece of property?
Yeah,
The curve area.
it's right on the top of the hill. We
Okay.
turn the house and all the barns.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that separate, or is that part of Wayne's parcel? No.
I think that's all part of it. It's a big chunk of land.
Where are we?
What's it?
Where are we?
At the corner of Route 10 and Gun Road.
Oh.
Suppose, I'm just throwing this out as conversation, the selectmen request proposals from private owners to see if they're interested.
Well, that's what I'm thinking.
In the meantime, the committee explores some private property.
Yeah.
Because in the meantime, and I'm going to let Joe explain to you, we're doing the other side of this to keep this thing going. So if, I don't know if you need to take a vote or what, but, you know, if you want to do it that way, why don't we do it that way?
Request for proposals?
Yeah, request proposal.
But that doesn't, and again, a request for proposal doesn't mean you guys can't go off and look in your own direction.
Right, as long as, see, we were given specific originally, don't go looking at private property. Now we're being,
Well, I think it's important that we're looking at private property if it's more advantageous for the overall, time to people can get out of fire and police departments.
So what if we just expanded your outlook and said, instead of just being restricted to looking at private property, we're opening it up to look at both public and private property at your discretion?
done.
I'd take a motion just to clarify that, so that if the board so wishes, that they can now look at any, broaden their horizon, so to speak.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Go get them.
Okay, now Joe is going to give you all of us an update of what we're doing with the feasibility.
Now, you asked the question how much land we need. The answer is we don't know, because no one's ever determined what we need for a public safety complex. There is a process in Massachusetts that a lot of architect engineers who are registered in the state use with towns, and that's to do with what's called a feasibility study. It's a study which is a short-term study,
Thank you.
3 to 4 or 5 months depending on the scope. It's intended to establish the basic size of the building, what it needs for now and what it needs for the future, which is what we think the town's going to require for fire and police cover, things like that. It really sets the overall space and facility needs. We do it for the fire department, police department, if there's any emergency, idea of central emergency management in this building. It looks at all the joint and common space needs, whether we're going to have dispatch or not, and public access space. There's basically 6 tasks that go into this kind of study. And we think we need to start to do something like this in parallel with looking for a site, because in the 3 years or whatever that this committee has been in existence, and we've looked at a lot of facilities that were recently built, but we don't know what we really need. So this would establish those needs. So the bottom line is we would get a schematic, the preliminary site evaluation based on our needs. What would a building look like on any parcel work we're looking at? We're not suggesting we do it on every parcel, but it looks at how do you place a building on any particular parcel based on the needs that we've defined. You come up with a projected total cost estimate and a schedule for construction, which is something we would definitely need to move forward. Everyone in town is going to ask us, well, what's the ultimate cost going to be? We're all going to want to know. We're going to want to plan for this in some reasonable fashion. And it's approximately a 4-month effort. This kind of study usually costs in the range of $30,000 to $40,000. So we really strongly recommend that we do start this process. Or you don't have to do these things in sequence. It's best to do it in parallel and define what our needs are.
And I forget, do you have a budget?
There's not that much on the money left.
Good word, good mercy.
So somewhere we have to find $30,000 or $40,000.
That was the discussion we had about the next town meeting, about having that money available.
So we need to talk to finance. I guess the question becomes, the first question is, are we going to do a public safety complex? Because there's no sense spending this money if we're going to, after evaluating this project a little further, deciding, no, we're not going to. So the first question is, are we committed to doing a public safety complex?
The town is moving towards having 24/7 paramedics. It's moving more and more forward to having a bigger police presence as the town is growing. So I don't see where this town can avoid not doing this.
I tend to agree with you, but I'm looking for a more generalized consensus among this board here to commit ourselves to, excuse me, to going down that path.
Well, facility-wise, I think we're in deplorable condition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you visited any of these facilities, I was amazed.
Yeah. The fire station is dangerous.
I guess I'm just
What they
trying to
were-
get everybody
they were
on.
Their Band-Aid approach is to get something to make it work for the time being. It's gone beyond that. I do think that there's only a few years left before one of these buildings is going to be shut down for safety reasons, and I think that it's important that we don't put them back into a Band-Aid approach again. We need to plan this, go through an approach like this to answer a lot of preliminary questions that will be answered once and for all. And then I'm sure the inputs of the two chiefs and various citizens will be incorporated into this feasibility study. And I think it's important that it's good money spent, whether it sits on the shelf or not, I hope not, but it'll put you way ahead of the curve to have this information and to be able to implement it into final design. So I'm in favor of moving forward with this.
Anybody else?
I don't think we have a choice but to move forward with it, and I don't see any other way to, the buildings are in awful shape, and the way the fire department's moving forward, they deserve to have some place safe to be, and same thing with the police department, so I think it would be money well spent.
Are we eligible for any state funding because of the condition of the buildings, the existing buildings? Nothing?
And ask Charlie too? No.
There used to be, but not anymore.
There's got to be some kind of grant or something we can get to help us.
At this point in time, there's nothing that I'm aware of. I've talked to certain people in the state, but the key to this is, at this point in time, until we get plans and stuff available, once we do that, then we can market ourselves. We might be able to market ourselves for some federal money, but the point is, until we get plans that we can do something with, chasing the money first isn't going to work.
So in order to get those plans, we have to do a feasibility study to find out what we want to put on the plan to apply to get the money.
To even
No, I think you have to go beyond that to get the money, if there's any money. And I know we've all been through this before. There is no program. There's nothing out there for the last several years. And there were a lot of communities that were able to get fire trucks and stuff like that under stimulus. But these were things that were what they call shovel-ready. In other words, they're ready to go, designed, and certain things kicked in that they needed projects. I'm not aware of any public safety buildings that fell into that. Fire trucks came in that, cruisers came in that, and stuff like that, but no public safety.
Well, what about CPC funding to get the fire station, because it's so old? Would it fall under any kind of historical help just for safety for now, so that nobody gets hurt in the fire?
CP money to fix up the present fire station?
To do something to stabilize it so nobody gets hurt, in light of a historical renovation of some sort.
If I may be blunt,
No.
you drive a nail into the building on one side,
I
and you're
know.
mortaring the brick on the other side of the wall.
Ah,
When I was chief, we had to raise
Way
the
back
doors.
then. Way back then.
Ancient history.
We had to raise the doors, and this was 10, 12 years ago, to fit the new equipment, right? And we hired a mason to raise the doors. And he took and hit the bricks, trying to take the bricks down, and 3/4 of the front of the station fell down.
oh my God.
So, I mean, there is an urgency on this. And I gotta agree with Charlie. If we are ready to go, maybe it won't happen next year, maybe it won't happen the year after, but soon enough, there's going to be funds available. They always do come up with different programs, but you got to do the preliminary work first to be ready to go.
This committee doesn't mind lobbying for funding, but we have nothing to lobby with right now.
I know.
So the question becomes, we would be putting an article on the town meeting warrant for $40,000 to allow a feasibility study for the public safety needs.
Well, could they, in the meantime, request proposals and maybe refine that?
We're going to go ahead with that.
Okay, so it might be less.
Right.
So we had a fixed dollar amount.
But we should at least be requesting.
I think we should move forward to this, yes.
Put a warrant article on for town meeting. And maybe, I don't know, what comes out of free cash for the special town meeting, and maybe there's something there when we know what,
Or even stabilization.
yeah.
It would be nice to be able to do this during the winter months, so in the spring, we have a handle on getting the design stuff done.
Well, you know, that, oh, yeah. But I mean, talking town meeting would be, annual town meeting would be
Right.
in the summer, or unless we can do it through a special town meeting.
Or if they're ready, just have a special town meeting just for this.
But if we do the feasibility, if we
Well,
get the 30 to 40 to do the feasibility study, and we answer our questions about the land, then at the annual town meeting, we can request funding to do the design.
But where, if we go to the special, where are you going to get the $40,000? Where are we going to take it from if it's not free cash?
If there's not free cash, you can take it from stabilizations, which is a 2/3 vote, but
Yeah, we do that. So if we go on to it's either going to be on the annual or a special. Is the preference to have it on the special so it comes up sooner?
yes.
So we would, once we know free cash, and we can put an article together.
I have a question. When you're talking about the feasibility stuff, it's not going to be site specific, it's going to be generic for any site, right?
What we do not be generic
Okay.
for any site.
All right.
But part of the feasibility, if we have parcels in mind, they can
Incorporate.
dictate the shape of the building and, you know, the ins and the outs and other ancillary things that affect the cost. But the basic needs of the building, this program sets that up.
Anything else? Anybody else? Are we in agreement that we'd like to go to a special town meeting with requested fundings?
Yes.
Thank you.
I think they should be talking to audience.
Yeah, probably
And
should.
just let them know of what we've talked about.
Should it be us or the select board talking
Well-
about finance? Because we basically are under you.
Well, I think some members from this board can go with you when you go there, but I think, you're the committee, they're going to be asking questions, and we shouldn't be asking questions for you. Well, we're in support of what you're doing. I think, members of this board can go
Yeah. If you
and
need,
show support.
if at some point in time you need somebody to go with you.
All right, that's fine.
All right. Anything else, gentlemen?
No, well, you're going to talk about the parcel here at the annual town, at the special town meeting for taking of the land so that we can record the registry of deeds,
Oh, that's that whole complex thing.
yeah.
I don't think we made a decision that night. We talked about it.
Well, you have the deed descriptions, all that is done. The only thing left is going to town meeting to take a vote for eminent domain and recording it at the registry.
We wouldn't have to do those articles. Those would have to be very specific articles.
Yes.
Get that from Captain Flanagan.
Yeah. Yeah. We'd have to get town council to draft up.
I'm asking you because I think we need to clean it up once and for all.
I agree we should clean it up, but, we might look at, we just don't want to reinvent the wheel and how somebody does this. We like to get somebody who's got a lot of experience with this and
That's fine.
maybe pay a little more premium, but not a lot of time.
Yeah.
That's
So
all.
we were already spending $17,000 on the Greenway title search. And I don't know whether we could piggyback this on top of it.
Maybe that's an option. Maybe they'll do it for free.
This
A
isn't,
lot of research was done on this one, so there's going to be a lot of,
maybe the thing is,
Well,
that
research is done.
yeah.
you have the knowledge, you should be the one to talk to somebody when we come to do it.
Just give me a call.
All right. Anything else?
I was enough fun on this one.
You're really soft-spoken tonight, Charlie.
I know, right?
I'm getting scared.
Oh,
Good night, guys.
Thank you.
thank you.
And
Good job, Bill. I like that.
where are we?
We're on the action list.
Where were we? Oh.
All right.
Oh, but we were supposed to come back to something. We interrupted it to go to the, huh?
Budget.
Oh, budget. We were coming back to the budget discussion. Thank you.
Yep.
You weren't here last week, and we got into the infamous discussion of zero-based budgeting versus, what was it?
Zero-based budgeting
versus,
the other budgeting.
huh?
The other budgeting.
Yeah, versus no increase in,
Level fund.
level funding, that's it, thank you, thank you. Zero-based budgeting versus level funding. We're back to the infamous discussion, distinction between zero-based budgeting and level funding.
That's all good and great to say, but unless we have a control on the regional, what good is it?
Well, the regional
All we
was,
do is cut 10% off everybody's budget.
regional was here last week. And of course, we went through the educational process of learning what the new forms are going to look like, and then we say to the school department, but it doesn't apply to you. So half the budget's gone, basically out of our control. And the other discussion becomes how much, and this was the other thing we had a little bit of discussion on, how much the select board is going to interface and be involved in the budgeting process. Finance is, maybe I'm misinterpreting, but I thought finance was looking to do the whole budget.
And lock it. And lock it.
And lock it, what do you mean lock it?
He said something about a lock on it, so that only he could get into it.
Oh,
Excel.
The cells in Excel.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense to me.
but I mean, so the question becomes, and I said that since I've been on the select board, we've gone from one extreme to the other. My first years here, we were intimately involved in the budgeting process. I think we heard every budget request.
I personally want to, last year never happened, and we need to be bringing these department heads in and talk to us too, so we know what they're doing. We didn't do it last year. I know it was a very busy and complex situation with finances, but, when you got a department head here, he's coming in and telling you the same thing you're telling the finance committee, we're aware of what's going on, and we can set our own priorities, what we establish as important, and we should be always carrying this forward in our approval of the budget. It is our budget.
Right.
That's what my impression was, but
That's what the bylaw says.
maybe I got the wrong impression from what they were selling, and I don't want to misinterpret, but I thought they were taking the budget, they wanted to take the budget process over more.
Well, they've always plugged the numbers in. We've always commented what we wanted to see
Right, we should be
to
able
make
to
it
say,
happen.
right.
Whether it was a priority one year to put a police officer in there, or to buy a dump truck or 2 cruisers, we were making those decisions, and we were prioritizing those based on input from departments. And we're only as good as our people tell us. And last year, it really didn't happen that much where we could give everybody a fair shot to present their concerns, so we can make serious decision on how we want to prioritize things. I mean, last year, what did we fight over? Wages for almost 6 months, and if not longer. And we had to wait until, schools were established. I remember going into the budget, we had $548,000 surplus. And what happened to that? 2 weeks later, it went right up to the regional.
Well,
I think we have to work with them, and they have to work with us. It's a two-way system here. And I'm very, I've dealt with finance committees, department heads. They're not, ignorant to what's going on. They know what's going on, but, like anything else, they only have X amount of money. And we have X amount of money. We've always used the free cash to take care of stuff that we weren't able to take care of before. And I don't even know if we're in that position anymore.
So I'm new to this whole thing. So if I start to say something that's totally off the mark, let me know. But in my head, I'm picturing this calendar, and on it, this department head meets with the finance committee and the select board with their first attempt at a budget. But that meeting should not be with just the finance committee. I feel like it needs to be a joint meeting so that we're not talking about the same things twice or more.
What will always happen, and I'm not saying it's the right way or the wrong way, they would meet with the finance committee separately.
Right, why?
Because the finance committee would talk to them about, what they got in the past or whatever, what their needs are. We would talk to them and hear the same story, and we would have 2 independent thoughts.
Right.
Not together in the same room, all right? But we tried to incorporate one department head per week that we met, so
Yeah.
we could not get bombarded with everything
Yeah.
and not really do diligence to this, but take a department head, take our notes, and make sure these are key things, and that we can say to the department head, yes, we support an individual, a new individual, and you can let the finance committee know that we support it.
But couldn't we take a step out if we just did it together?
We have that kind of time.
It seems like it'd take more time to have 2 meetings than it would to have 1 meeting.
Well, I'm just saying is that I think there's a lot of time going with departments. You're talking all your departments,
Yeah,
all your committees,
yeah.
wherever there's money, wherever there's a budget.
So,
And it's a lot of time. There's certain things that, they don't come in front of us, maybe like conservation, or they might want to come in front of us because it's a special need, but, most of it is delegated through what they have, what they're doing, and do they need more money for a particular reason. I just don't think you're going to find that we're going to be able to sit down and go with them jointly and make all these decisions.
so if they met with them first and the finance committee kind of refined what they had, and then they met with us again, that would be more effective.
That's my point.
Okay.
We've also had a hearing in the past. We've done, like Ed is saying, departments would come in and meet with the select board, but then we would also have a hearing if anybody, the finance committee would give their recommendation to the select board would review it, approve or not approve, and then it would allow departments a chance to speak up on the finance committee's recommendation. And it's kind of like plead your case, fight for your money, what do you want for your department?
Well,
That's what they've done in the past.
I just don't want to see it down to the
actually,
11th hour.
she's right about that, but I don't know how the bylaw, I haven't seen the bylaw in a long time, but I believe the finance committee, before it goes to the annual town meeting, has to have a hearing with all department heads invited and selectmen as a group and go over it. I think it's required, but has it been used every year? I don't think so.
So what we need to have from us tonight is a stand on where we stand, so that next week we can give it to them.
How involved are we going to be in the budget process? And I agree with that. It should be us setting priorities and deciding what's the...
I mean, I don't want to be involved with saying Reggie can't have water this year in the bottles versus Reggie needs a new server. I mean, to us, our
They are
priority
capable of
probably should be
making
the
that
server.
decision, right.
Say, this other stuff, you guys have to deal with that.
Right.
And like the police department, a key thing, if they were looking for a new person or add an additional cruiser above the norm, and we would either come in support of them or say no, but we would want to know why.
Right.
And we can make our own ability to yes or no it. And it goes on for anything.
So I agree
But the
with
only
that.
thing is, Liz, revenue, the budget process will never have enough revenue to take care of the budget, the dollar amounts that come in.
So can't we ask the department heads to, I don't know how you call this, zero-based budgeting, you're only allowed to spend whatever you had last year, is that guaranteed this year?
Level
No,
funded.
not
It's called
necessarily.
level
Not
necessarily, but that's more realistic.
Like, you can't spend any more than you had this year and not take into consideration any free cash or any extra revenue, just what you had last year. And then after that, that's a whole nother conversation.
That's a start, but when the finance committee starts looking at it and they say, wow, we're really unbalanced, now we need to ask departments to cut 2% from their budget.
Okay,
Because
so-
now we need to get the balanced budget. So
Right.
that's the first step. What is your first step? What do you want to ask departments to do?
I'd like to know what our revenue is going to be and what, for us to develop a budget without really understanding what the regional is going to do to us is a lot of time wasted. I mean, if the regional's coming in and with another 500,000 head, or our percentage goes up to 60% versus 52, we're going to see some major hits here. And where's it going to come? We are fixed. The only thing we got coming in this year, we didn't have last year, is 2.5% and some new growth. There is no casino coming in with $16 million or anything like that. So we need to know those fixed numbers. Like, is the regional going to come back and look for $500,000, $300,000 more?
I don't know historically when they've come in with their budget.
Say it again.
When historically have they come with their budget?
They would do a preliminary in January, February, and then they would do another one in March.
Final, yeah.
Now, I know the Finance Committee, and I think they talked to you, Liz, about it, they want to be involved with meeting the Finance Committee, school committee members to educate them, and the Finance Committee is involved the regional to educate them on what is happening to us. I think that's a process they've already started.
I think so.
I'm not sure how far they've gotten. They're trying to get a handle on that and address it. But to us, I mean, I think it was a month before we were ready to go to town meeting last year, we thought we had extra money to address a lot of issues that were not addressed in years past, like a second cruiser,
Right.
like, you know, a pickup truck for the highway department, or, you know, some needs that were addressed here. Well, what happened? All those needs were told, forget it. We don't have that money anymore. It was gone. That fourth town came in and they voted it and it was gone. I think they had to get 4 towns out of 5.
4 out of 5.
And that dictates, even though we're 56%, they
Well,
did.
and a lot of that, and it's set by a formula, so they create a budget and then it gets parceled out to the towns by their complicated number of students, and there's a complicated formula that they use to distribute our allocation or...
And I've been around here long enough, I know that administrators and school committeemen, they know where they go for their support. And, you know, Southampton's not right up there all the time for them to
Right.
support it. You know, it's because we've been behind the 8 ball with finances. And I would say the credit goes to a lot of department heads and some strong choices the town has made to get through this. But it's been tough.
All right.
I say we work with the Finance Committee.
Well, what do you want to work with the finance company? What do you mean by work with the finance?
On major issues for departments.
You want
What we
to
feel is priorities.
Review that's exactly what I was going to say. Review priorities of departments. We're going to ask the departments to come in and address us with their priorities.
Priorities. And even, you know, give us a brief synopsis of their budget.
Before they go to finance?
They can go before or after, just before we put the final numbers together.
Well, you can't wait that long. It takes, and when the years pass, it takes us 2 or 3 months to get through
I
everything.
know, what I'm saying is, if they come to us before the Finance Committee, it doesn't matter.
So can't they just send one?
I would think you'd want them here before, just my opinion, you'd want them here first.
That's fine.
And so that we get to establish the priorities, then when they go upstairs, this is what I've laid, you know, the select board.
Well, here's a suggestion based on what Liz asked. Why don't we do our regular business in January and February on the scheduled Tuesday? In the off Tuesdays, we take department heads.
That's what we've done in the past. That's kind of like what we've done.
Take 3 or 4 department heads, and...
We use those odd weeks to do this kind of thing.
And anything that might come up.
Right.
So on page 55, there's a draft memo that's going to go out to all department heads, boards, and committee chairs.
Which way, 55?
Yeah.
Is there any way to speed these things up so you don't have to...
On the right-hand
55?
side, there's a little button,
Mine
and
only
you
goes
touch
up to
it and pull
54.
it down,
Oh,
and
that's
go right to
because-
where you need to go.
If you double-click in the top left, double-click the top left of your screen, that's the right side, up on the left.
Okay, don't be crazy.
Do you see the little box that comes up with 4 squares?
No?
Show them that little white thing on the side.
Well, I can drag that down, but mine always doesn't...
If you go like this, usually the door.
My wife is going to be home watching you do this and telling me I don't know how to work a computer. See, it doesn't work any better for her. Thank God.
Slot machine.
Why isn't it? I
See,
just did
it's
it
not
on
me.
mine.
It's not me, it's my machine.
You can
so
make
I'm-
it get this little
my
box
machine at home.
with 4 squares on it, and it brings up each page.
No, there's this little thing right here. Put your finger on it. It'll
Because
move.
it doesn't show you a page number.
Yeah, you
But
can,
it will eventually, once it loads.
yeah. Well,
See, there you go. You're way down.
so what
Well-
page?
54.
54. All right.
So you can see yeah, you're right there.
Mine has a little magnifying glass, and do you know what I'm talking
Not
about?
me, it's the
This
machine.
isn't doing it.
Yeah, maybe you have to
Probably not
program it.
updated. Yours is updated, I think.
Mine's not. All right,
So
so,
on that page, it's a similar what you've asked departments before. This time I've included the level-funded zero-based budget,
what page are you on?
55.
Oh, 55.
And then the second paragraph is asking them to identify their 3 priorities within their departments. You've asked this every year. And to have the forms be submitted. The question is, I think you had that discussion with the Finance Committee that they want to collect all the data, and you had asked to be involved in collecting the data as well.
We asked that we get a copy of it.
Yeah. So that's what it has in this letter, and this is what we've done in the past. You have until, and that's a date for the Finance Committee to work with, to complete and return all forms to, and remember to include all detailed justification for all requests.
So the question, I guess, is do we want to send this letter out, or do we want to modify this in some way, or
What about the part that says salary projections are to be calculated for all filled and vacant positions as follows and submitted with your request?
What paragraph? Oh, right there.
Right there.
That was the same as last year.
Yeah.
But
That was no problem.
what does that mean? Like, are to be calculated, do they calculate it with an increase, or do they calculate it without an increase?
Well, there's a union contract, you have to calculate with the increase.
Yeah,
And
percentage.
is the only person that has a union contract the police department?
What's that?
Highway,
The highway department?
school,
Dispatchers.
Dispatchers.
Yeah.
dispatchers.
Okay.
And
And
it's,
then the non-union people, we would, that number comes from us
Later,
later.
if there's money.
Toward the end.
which is why we start out at 0, and we can go up, but it's pretty hard to take it back away from them.
Yeah.
But to figure for vacant positions is if there's an empty chair there, you figure the chair may get filled during the year.
Yeah.
All right, so does anybody have any problems with this letter?
No, I have no problem.
Is this what we want to do?
I guess I want to make sure that our position is clear to the Finance Committee so that we don't get 3 months in and say, how come we haven't,
Well, do you want to request
Heard.
another meeting with them and then show them?
they're meeting with us next week.
Right.
So that we're clear.
All right, so then we'll hold this letter for next week. And
Let them
then,
review it, and we agree to send it
Yeah,
out.
I just want to make sure, we don't get into March and April and us say, so where are we with this process? We want to be involved from the beginning and we're
Right.
not.
all right, and then the next question is, do we want to draw up a rough draft of our projected meetings with department heads?
Yeah.
All right, so why don't you take over, have Reggie come up with a tentative schedule of meetings? Some nights it'll be one, police department might be one night, the only one on one night. Some of the committees won't even show up, the smaller ones.
Yeah, sounds great.
Well, then they're locked into
Well, whatever we give them.
what they got
Yeah,
last year.
exactly.
Or less.
Right.
So
Whatever we give
keep
them.
on top of it.
If you don't
Yeah, that's all
show,
I want to make sure we're not, because I can remember standing outside holding a sign and coming in and getting the results, and the room was full of people, and then, was it the next week we were here until 11 o'clock at night, and it just seemed like it could have been...
No, that was because we couldn't plug in the numbers.
Oh, all right. Well, I don't know, I'm just saying.
That was a bad night.
Yeah, that was a long night.
And I think when it was
That's
done and over with, we still had to work
Yeah.
those numbers again and
We did.
again.
Right, and that's, budgets are like that.
Right.
It takes a long time.
I'm trying to get back up to the top.
We don't have a corporate base, so we're just dealing with...
So, well, I guess then that begs the question, did that letter say zero-based, or rather, level funded?
Level funded and zero-based, which means that you're going to start from the zero, and you're going to use prior year's budget. You're not going to go beyond that.
But I think that's a different understanding of what Finance Committee calls zero.
They want to do zero-based, but we got into that problem last year.
But they're talking about zero-based, that they want you to start with zero and justify every line on as you go up.
Correct, but you can't go past what you have this year.
Right. And that's what I
Level
assume.
fund.
Well, zero-based means, just my interpretation, that what you had last year might not necessarily be what you need this year, or what you...
And level funded would be what you had last year.
Zero is what you need to get by and function without,
So maybe we need to take the zero based out of ours and leave it level funded.
I think that makes,
Okay.
But that's for the discussion, right?
Next
week?
Tuesday, okay.
I mean, because you can take level funded and you can adjust the numbers underneath any which way you want.
Right.
I think it's only semantics. They're saying zero. You start, every column is empty, and you put $1 in, you put $2 in because you need this or that or the other thing, and you get up to where you were, or what you need.
But level funding is not going to take care of the entities that have unions.
No.
Or zero-based funding, those are fixed costs.
Right.
They would become zero-based.
Right.
Right.
All right. Everybody okay on that?
Yes.
All right. Now I got to come back down to see where I was.
I'm going to deal with this.
What?
You deal with that yet?
Oh,
Let's deal with
no, let's deal with that. Liz is going to take over for me for the Personnel Policy Board because I can't get to their meetings at 6 o'clock.
We couldn't vote last week because there weren't enough.
We're not people, so Someone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that Liz Moulton be the selectman's representative on the PPP board.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now where else was I? What page was that on? We were doing the action list, right? Okay, there it is. McDougal's not here, the Wayne property we didn't get a thing for. We have a forest cutting plan for Rattle Hill Road. That's a selectmen's issue now again?
Do we still put our verbiage into that we have done in the past? About meeting with the highway department for loading and traffic? We do?
Yep.
So is there a signature thing or anything for it?
No, it's just like Ed said, we have that form, and it's more for the highway, their input.
But we don't have to take a vote on it or anything?
If you feel comfortable, though. I think you have in the past.
Yeah. I'll make a recommendation that we accept the plan as long as they go through the proper procedures and get proper approvals from the highway department.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
How many acres are they cutting?
On so many acres, it's board feet.
Well, I know, but I mean, there's our safety complex. They're cutting a lot up there. I'm assuming those M's mean millions, right? Oh, no, thousands. 25,000 board feet. White pine,
Why are
10,000.
they cutting?
Been out the forest. Long-term forest management plan.
Yeah, that's just ongoing. It's a woodlot. No frontage.
No frontage at all.
Well, there's a little frontage at Rattle Hill Road, but it's very little. Well, 225 and not too tall. No.
Got an existing bridge on that? Wow, that's a big parcel. Okay, now I gotta get back up to the top. So we're just gonna put that in. We did that. We've gotta come back. What about the minutes? We've tabled those twice now.
I read mine. I'm up to date.
I haven't seen them, but I'll take your word for it.
Well, then if you haven't seen them, you really shouldn't vote on them, so we can do it. Jackie?
I have to read mine.
I talked to Pat Cantor based on that letter we have to send to the school building agency in regards to the Norris roof, and she called me back. She was in contact with Thomas Garzowski from the State Building Authority, and they're going to work out the verbiage between them.
Oh, for the keeping the money.
The bonding question.
Bonding question, okay. Status on the highway superintendent?
There's actually 12 applications, not 11.
I counted 11.
Yeah, I did them today. I counted them about 17 times. There's 12,
Okay.
not 11. But that's moving ahead. And
What's that?
I said that there's 12 applications, not 11, and hiring's moving ahead. We had our first meeting. We had our first meeting last week.
Friday.
I wrote all the names down.
I can check back. Maybe there were a couple that were...
It's better for,
Okay.
you get the more, it's better.
Can we talk about the town administrator position for a minute?
Sure.
The committee has their final 3 candidates. It's working on background checks and references, and the committee is wondering, do you want to meet with the committee and talk about them and get some background about them before you interview them? Or would you prefer to just interview them? How do you want us to go forward, I guess?
Meet with the committee half hour beforehand, before we start interviewing, and we can ask our questions and then take them in.
So that's going to make for a very, do you want to do them all in one night? How do you want us to go forward?
Well, my feeling is, I'd rather do it all in one night so we give them all a fair approach. We take a step away, we're going to look at things differently when we come back. That's
Okay,
all.
so should we schedule on a not a Tuesday? Or do you want to do it on a regular Tuesday?
We'll do it on and off Tuesday.
Yeah.
What's on, well, what time frame are you looking at? When would this be ready?
We have a second interview next week, and just because we have a few more questions. And then after that, I'm pretty sure we'll be ready to go.
All right, so what's on the schedule, not next week, the following week?
So you are meeting on December 3rd, and you have appointments, your last appointment 6:50, so give her 20 minutes, so it'd be about 7:15, 7 to 10. And then you have a meeting on the 10th and a meeting on the 17th, and then the 24th and the 31st are two holidays.
Let's do the 3rd.
3rd, or the 10th has...
3rd or the 4th, we could
So
do
can-
Wednesday on an off night.
Well, wait a minute, the 10th has nothing, what's...
The 10th has nothing.
I think that might be a better night, just so,
10th? Okay.
yeah, so I make sure that we have all our ducks in a row before we...
Do it on the 10th and block off like 2 hours minimum.
December 10th.
Half hour for the committee, half hour for each of the candidates. And then put a buffer, so that's 2 hours, 6:30, 7:30, 8:30. So I would say there's nothing, unless it's the building's burning, there's nothing else on that night.
Okay.
Jackie, on your memorial across Park, that base has been in about a month.
Yes, I know, thank you. I talked to Mr. Slattery, and I talked to Smith Monuments, and it's still in transit. We're waiting.
Still in transit?
So once it's here, he'll tell us, and we're going to have a dedication day, and we're all excited.
All right, I just want to come back to the town administrator position. Do we want to have a target date for, if we do this on the 10th, I think we should plan to be making our final decision on this like early in January. My mistake?
I think our plan was early January to kind of be done, so...
Well, I'm just thinking, you interview these people on the 10th, and then it's the 17th is our next meeting. Discussion on the 17th about who, what, and where. Maybe you come in one more time on the 20... You're not going to do it on the 24th.
No, I'm not going to be here.
So, you're not going to do it that weekend, the next weekend?
Can you make a decision on the 17th, the discussion and decision?
You could make it this, I think I'd keep it open, and you could, if someone wanted to move forward that night, if we were all convinced that that was the night
Yep.
on the 17th, but a drop dead date, maybe the first or second week in January, that we will do it by then. So I would what I would do is schedule it the 17th for discussion, and right now, calendar, what meetings are early January?
You just approved it January 7th, I think it was,
What's the
and the
next?
21st.
So let's 14th.
7/14.
So let's schedule a meeting right now for the 14th, and that's the knockdown dead date.
If we need it, we can...
We can do it earlier, but we'll put it on an agenda for the 14th and keep it alive. But that's the knockdown dead date. All right?
It's fine with me.
Moving on, the Concom, did everybody get those emails back and forth about that? So Courtney is, unfortunately, unless we want to reappoint him to a full term, and do we know whether he wants a full term?
I've got to reach out and ask him. He's going through some things right now.
Okay.
And then we do have 2 letters of interest for the Conservation Commission as well.
Okay. Have those been shared with Charlie? His
Yes.
committee?
Yep.
Okay. And we did anything else on that? Anybody?
I was just, you know the gentleman that passed away? Because he was on the
Need. Ed
Conservation
Need.
Committee?
Yeah.
No, he was a member in the past.
Yeah.
He was an alternate.
Alternate.
Not alternate.
Associate.
Associate.
Right, I mean, I was just wondering if we could do something in town, I don't know if it's a plan to treat, or just do something to recognize him because of the service that he did for us.
Why don't you come up with a plan and we'll talk about it.
Okay.
We did the FY15 budget process. Is everybody satisfied with that? Email was sent to FinCom asking for, okay. The rates and measures we did. Follow up with Town Hall Communications. Did everybody get the email that came out from Board of Health?
Yes.
The one recently?
Yes.
Yeah.
They would like to meet with a select person on February, or not February, December 5th? 3rd?
Is that a Tuesday?
At
What
5:30.
time's their meeting?
At 5:30. They would like to have a select, I would like to have more than one person go to that, but it's very difficult for me to go at that early in the evening. Who's available?
I'll go.
Oh, good. I'm still looking for my calendar.
All right, so did you say you stop looking for your calendar?
Well, if two people just said
Right.
they go, I'll stop
All
looking.
right, so Ed and Jackie will go. Which brings me to my point. We're all seeing these emails, what I'll refer to a lot of poison pen emails flying back and forth. And I don't know how to stop it. I know how I'd stop it if it was in my office, but I can't do it here. Anybody got any suggestions? And I'll be glad to offer the chairmanship to anybody who thinks they can straighten it out. Because I'm really at wit's end. I read them and I get ticked off and I'd like to throttle some people. On all sides of the equation.
I'm with you. It's frustrating to read.
If you cannot walk and talk it to each other, then you don't belong here. But
Well, I think part of it is to take, instead of just using the email as a venting instrument, why don't they either walk down or walk up or communicate?
I agree with you.
Communicate physically so you can see the emotions, the reactions, and a lot of it maybe can be resolved by that, maybe it can't, but, you know,
I mean, I'm to the
the
point
current
where
way is not working.
I'm to the point where I'd hire. I'm thinking you're gonna end up hiring a, I don't know what they're called, a personal consultant to come in and, because it's stupid stuff, and I don't have the time to give to it, and if someone else has the time, I'd certainly be my guest, but I don't have a way to fix it, and I'm open to any suggestions anybody has. Hearing none. Blunder
I
along.
made a comment that people should go face-to-face,
Oh, I think so too.
and face-to-face is the key. in my
But we're now using surrogates.
No.
You know, we're now
That
using,
survey didn't go anywhere, did it?
No, we haven't even gotten it yet.
no, I said surrogates. They're
Oh, I
not,
thought you said surveys.
no, they're using surrogates.
Yeah.
We're using envoys now. We don't go talk, we use surrogates. So bear that in mind when you talk to people in the building. I don't know what else to do with them. Frustrated.
What were you saying, Reggie?
I think when you do face-to-face, there's so much tension. I think I know it's horrible, but you need somebody that's in the middle that does know nothing and has no judgment to help.
A mediator?
Yes, yes.
Well, but these are rather petty, and I don't disagree with that, but some of these are rather petty items that need a mediator over. I mean, this is, I can't use the words. But frankly, I'm hoping that whoever is appointed, that's why I'd like to keep the administrator moving, so that they're here, they're in the building, maybe they can function and do it. I think that's going to be job one. And I think whoever we interview that night's got to get grilled on how, this is the situation in the building, how are you going to fix it?
Right. Can I bring up the memo we had asked to have Betty sent out last week about delivering turnovers upstairs,
Yeah.
and it didn't get sent out?
Oh, it didn't?
No, I didn't draft it, I didn't send it out yet.
Then you got to do it. I'd say it has to go out tomorrow. What's today, Tuesday? It has to be in everybody's hands by Friday.
What memo was this?
That we came up with for turning over cash, we came up with a process that had to be,
The auditors want that, right?
Right.
it had to be followed, that has to be done. All right, I'm done with that, unless anybody else has a problem. Supplies of the key and clock policies. Anything anybody thinks I'm missing? Oh, wait a minute, you got some things ongoing, to be scheduled for discussion or vote, select board go, that's ABC license renewals, got to be sent out, they're done.
We're sent out,
They're on.
we're going to get the licenses before the 17th, and you'll have a ton of licenses to sign, so get ready.
Yeah, that's usually a fun night of signing everybody's license. All right. Anything else, anybody? Hearing none, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you all. Oh, we got, this is...